The competition watchdog is being urged to get tough with monopolies after news emerged of a possible merger of Sainsbury's and Asda. Well, the Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Vince Cable, said that the Competition and Markets Authority should force the companies to sell off stores if the merger meant the new giant was dominant in a particular area. Unions representing supermarket workers have also called for urgent meetings over concerns about possible store closures and job losses.
If you've got stores in close location to one another, stores will close. This is an absolute shocker of a decision which has severe implications for the workers within Sainsbury's and within Asda. And we're asking for senior level discussions with the senior executives of both companies immediately.
Retail analyst Natalie Berg joins us now from South East London. Good afternoon to you. Just talk us through, how significant is this deal, if it goes ahead, of course?
It's game-changing, but I think we have to take a step back and really get a better understanding of why it's happening, because consolidation has been a trend in the sector in recent years, and I think if we look at what's happening in the UK market, the grocery market, we're seeing unprecedented levels of change. We've seen the onslaught of the discounters. Just in the past 5 years, Aldi and Lidl have grown their combined market share by 80%. We've seen the rise of online shopping. We've seen huge structural shifts. But on top of all that, the supermarkets are facing this really dangerous combination of rising costs and subdued consumer demand, and it's impacting their margins. I think what we're seeing is margins of 2 to 3%, well below the industry average of historic industry average of 5%. And it's just unsustainable. So I think from that point of view, consolidation is inevitable.
We heard from the unions earlier, concern that there's going to be job losses. Do you think that's likely?
Well, both Asda and Sainsbury's have gone into this deal knowing that there'd have to be a fairly significant number of store disposals in order for them to get the green light from the CMA. So from that point of view, as stores close, naturally there will be some job losses. And also we have to remember that they will look to become more efficient, become leaner. And as a result, we'll probably see some reduction in duplication in head office, for example. So there will naturally be some job losses, but both retailers will of course, do their very best to retain jobs. And I think another important point here is the cultural fit between both Sainsbury's and Asda. We've had Mike Coop spent time at Asda in his early days, and of course the current boss of Asda is the ex-trading director of Sainsbury. So culturally, I think both companies are a good fit as well.
And what does it mean for the consumer? Are we likely to see lower prices? Is it a positive or a negative for, people shopping there?
Overall, I'd say it's a positive. It's very early days. I think we'll get a little bit more of an understanding tomorrow once we hear from Sainsbury's and Asda. But overall, it has to be about a better deal for the consumer because the market is so incredibly competitive. The supermarkets are under a lot of pressure to keep costs down, to pass those lower costs on to the consumer. Because if they didn't, then everybody would be flocking to Aldi and Lidl. So I think the discounters are really making sure that the supermarkets are staying competitive on price.
There's obviously a lot of loopholes that it needs to go through to get approval from the Competition Markets Authority and such, like Vince Cable today saying that it should be forced to close some stores, if there are issues with that. So what is the process that has to happen now?
Well, first of all, it will be a very lengthy and expensive process. I think we have to first and foremost bear that in mind. But we have to remember that there are a lot of synergies in terms of geography for both Sainsbury's and Asda, with Sainsbury's well represented in the south and, of course, Asda in the north. So from that point of view, I think the CMA is good news for both retailers, but also I think the CMA will be looking very much on a local basis. So they'll be looking at those towns where there's both a Sainsbury's and an Asda, rather than looking at market share nationally. So from that point of view, it's good news for both companies.
OK, Natalie Berg, thank you.